Hey, it's Matt from Custom Car Grills, and today I'll show you how to make this 2013 through 15 Toyota Avalon grill set. We'll be starting with the stock grill, and we first need to remove the original bar design. The bumper needs to come off the car, and on the back of the bumper there will be a couple screws and a lot of mounting tabs that need to be released. With all of the fasteners released, then remove the grill from the bumper. Then remove the screws that hold the chrome bezel to the original grill, and then we'll start to separate those two parts. The sides will come apart easily, but you'll get stuck when you get near the center. Using a pick or a flathead screwdriver will likely be needed to release the tabs shown here. Afterward, the chrome bezel should lift off quite easily now. We'll need to do a little cutting on the bezel, and so I'll get my Dremel equipped with the number 543 cutting wheel. The little nubs by some of the bezel tabs will need to be cut off, and the Dremel will make short work of this. Next up, there's a sharp end to the curvy design area seen here. The top of the number 543 cutting wheel is very abrasive and can be used to shave down the area flat so that it blends in better with the surrounding area. A little bit of 180 grit sandpaper is great to use to refine the cut and get a nice clean edge. While I'm back here, I'm also going to sand the back of the bezel for an upcoming step because it'll be nice to have it a little roughed up. Afterward, let's also tape off the front of the bezel. We'll be using an epoxy soon and want to make sure to protect the front of the bezel in case I spill any. Plyo Grip Plastic Repair number 3 is what I like to use for projects like this. I'll apply this on the back of the bezel where there's a valley to dispense the epoxy in. The goal here is to add enough material to the back so that the mesh can be installed without the need to bend the mesh. Once I have some dispensed, I'll use a small Bondo spreader to even out and level the coverage. While that cures, we will need to cut a few pieces of the stock grill to reuse. On each side, these areas that I'm cutting have a clip on the back which will be important for the new grill to be reinstalled back on the bumper. After cutting, they will need some refinement. We want to keep the clip and the screw mount, but not much more. We will also want to shave off some of the depth off the bottom because we need to allow for the new mesh to pass underneath of it. I'll again use some sandpaper to scuff up the underside of the plastic clips because ideally we want to have some epoxy on the bottom of these if possible. Do a test fit to make sure that we don't need to do any more trimming. Then temporarily screw them back in place to get a good view of where additional epoxy can be used. Apply more if needed, and then let that cure. The Plyo Grip cures fairly quick, typically about 30 minutes, and while we wait for that, I'll go ahead and remove the protective tape that I had put on earlier to the front. Also, this is a good time to take a look at the mesh piece that we have for sale on our website. This is pre-cut specifically for the 2013 through 2015 Toyota Avalon, and it's ready for installation right out of the box. These are made from our Diamond XXL mesh and available in both a black or silver finish. The mesh drops right on the back like so, and there's all the right cutouts made in all the right spots for the tabs on the bezel. Grab some cable ties, and we'll be using these to temporarily hold the mesh to the grill bezel. It's important to get the mesh tight on the back of the bezel, but also be mindful not to loop around extra diamonds or over tighten the ties to the point where the frame's going to distort. Afterward, I like cutting the tail ends of the ties off. Also, just a note here, I messed up and I should have sanded the existing Plyo Grip before tying the mesh on. Thankfully, I can get in there with a small piece of sandpaper and get everything scuffed up a little bit before moving on. We'll be using that Plyo Grip yet again to bond the mesh and grill frame together. Apply this on and around the mesh where it's making contact with the back of the grill frame. Be sure not to spill any of this through the front or out the back. Use the brush to spread and even out the coverage and keep moving around the perimeter of the grill. Areas around the tabs can be tricky. Try to get some epoxy touching them if possible so that they can be stabilized when reinstalling the grill. Wait for this to fully cure and then come back in with some wire cutters and cut the ties off. The grill itself is good to go now, but there's modifications that you might want to do to the vehicle depending on the color of your Avalon. The upper portion of the bumper opening has this solid area that will be showing through. Some owners might not want that there, and a lot of this will need to be cut out if that's the case. Dremel with cutoff wheel makes for a good combo that can go through this bumper quite easily. Just make sure to take your time and not cut off any more than what's needed for this step. Regardless if you are removing this portion of the bumper or not, there's actually one more mod to the bumper which will be needed for the grille installation. We need to cut some of the flat plastic from the old grille because there's going to need to be a gap that's filled in on the upper ledge of the bumper openings. With that strip of the old grille removed, I'll cut those into 3-inch strips with the Dremel and then follow that up by scuffing the pieces with some sandpaper. On the top edge of the bumper opening, we need to add these to the tab openings to give the bezel something to screw into. The plyo grip can work well to bond these pieces to the bumper. In this close-up, you can see that I added a little extra plyo grip to the edges just to make sure that they're secured all the way around. After this cures, we can now take the new grille and slide it back into the bumper. I found it easiest to get the lower part in first and then pull the top edge out to get the new grille in. Be careful not to scratch your bumper during this step. The mesh will have some sharp edges on the back, so take precautions. Then push the sides in, and the tabs on the lower edge should line up with that solid pocket. Grab the small black screws that are included with this kit, and we'll be using those to screw the chrome bezel to the bumper like so. Repeat the same for the upper edge too. And of course, this is why we added that material to this area, otherwise there'd be nothing to screw into. Use the factory screws for the upper corners, and now the bumper is ready for reinstallation if only the lower main grille is what is being modified today. For me, I plan to tackle the upper grille too, so let's dive into that. I want to cut out this old square looking design and replace it with the same mesh that we just used. Let's flip this around and do a little disassembly. There's quite a few screws on the back that will need to be temporarily removed. Follow that up with releasing the clips that are holding the chrome trim pieces in place. On this upper grille, the chrome trim is in 2 pieces, so we'll set these both aside for now. Next, let's get our trusty Dremel out again and use that 543 cutting and shaping bit. I'll use this to knock out the thin bars seen here. Just be mindful of where that cutting wheel is in this tight space, as well as where the chuck for the bit is too. If you're not paying attention, it can be pretty easy to nick an area. Keep using the wheel from different angles to get the right approach and continue to shave down the remnants of the old bars. On the outer tip of the grille, stay about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge and cut the tip out from the back like so. After the bulk of it's out, grab some 1/4-inch tape or pinstriping tape. Place it on the front of the old bars that we just cut out. It should be pretty obvious on the upper edge where to place this, as well as most of the lower edge. For the inner curvy area near the emblem, try to merge the 2 depths the best you can using the tape. From behind the grille, use the Dremel and cut right behind the back edge of the tape line. A steady hand and some patience will be important during this step. Here's a good angle to see the process, and also note that I'm trying to keep the cutting blade perpendicular to the grille edge. After you make it around the perimeter, remove the cut portion and throw it away. Then let's dive into the tips on the left and right edges. Essentially, cut right up to the area where the old vertical design met up with the new edge that we just cut out. Also to note, on the back, there's going to be a lot of burnt plastic bits. A grinder will help remove and sand down most of them. We want to get these areas as flat as reasonably possible. Afterward, let's remove that tape line. I think that worked reasonably well, but this is where we're going to find out how well. I'm just checking my work here, and this is looking pretty good so far. There's a little bit of a mismatch on the textures from the old grille to the newly modified one, so I'll get my DA sander out and knock down the bumpy texture that was on the stock grille in the inner edge so that we have a nice new flat surface to work with. This can be refined even further by hand if you desire, but this looks good to me for now. To restore this to something that resembles OEM, I'll first grab some primer. Give those new areas a good coat, and then I'll use a matte black trim paint to finish it off. After it dries, here's a look at how mine turned out. I think this is looking OEM fresh, and these new wide open grille areas are just begging to have some mesh installed in there. But first, let's get those trim pieces reinstalled and refastened together. And now, here's the mesh pieces that we have available for the upper grille areas. It's a matching mesh set to the lower, and yet again, these are pre-cut specifically for the 2013 through 15 Toyota Avalon. The mesh will go on the back of the new grille openings like so, and make sure that the mesh orientation matches that of the lower grille. These areas here with the mesh being bent may need some minor adjustment to get the fitment perfect. When satisfied on how this looks from the front, grab some more cable ties and let's get this temporarily attached to the grille frame. Before going forward to bonding these pieces together, give this one more good look from the front and check for any gaps. If everything's all good, then let's use up the last of this plyo grip cartridge and empty what we can in here in the areas where the mesh is making contact with the back of the frame. Again, it's super important not to spill any of this in an area where you don't want it to go. This lower edge is very tedious and delicate work. We can't add much at all, otherwise the grill won't fit back on the bumper, but we also need to add enough so that the mesh will bond to the grill. Even these little tips on the end can be stressful work, but it's the final touches like this that will be important for the final look. Once this cures, cut the ties off and the upper grill is now finished. Let's flip this around and see what the finished product looks like. Personally, I think this is a huge improvement over the boring stock grill design that was feeling quite old. Of course, we need to check out the combo of this with the lower grill on the bumper, so here's a quick shot of what both these grills look like together. What a difference this can make. Wow. The owner that we made this set for did send over an installed picture of what this looks like on their Avalon, and here's a picture of the grill set out in the wild. Well, this has been a fun build to complete, and it's been great to see the transformation. I hope you like the end result as much as I do, and if you can give me a thumbs up and a sub to the channel, that's much appreciated. Feel free to drop any comments or questions down below. Hit me up for grill builds like this one, and thanks for watching.